Well, some Hollywood stars are catching blowback for comments about Americans and the outcome of the presidential election. Sharon Stone and Alec Baldwin among them, separately lashing out at a foreign film festival.
My country is in its adolescence. Adolescence is very arrogant. Adolescence thinks it knows everything. Adolescence is naive and ignorant and arrogant.
Baldwin talked about how the U.S. news system is contributing to what he calls Americans being uninformed.
Learn from the news. Television news in the United States is a business. They have to make money. And again, not to go into great detail about that, but there's a hole, there's a vacuum. There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans. Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information.
Joining us now, NewsNation media contributor Steve Krakauer. I think out of touch with reality is selling multi-million-dollar homes and moving to England, which apparently Ellen DeGeneres is doing. You know, they have a right to be upset. They were unhappy with the election results. But I think, which reality are we living in?
It's unbelievable. Those two clips back to back. It's so rare that you get to see the literal definition of hypocrisy right there in a very short soundbite there. Sharon Stone, talk about the unfortunate combination of ignorance and arrogance. That is Sharon Stone to a T. And Alec Baldwin there about uninformed. Look at the broad swath of Americans who voted for Donald Trump in this election. People across the spectrum when it comes to politically, independents, people across the spectrum when it comes to young and old, when it comes to the gender divide, comes to Latinos voting for Donald Trump in record numbers, African Americans voting for Donald Trump in record numbers, and people even across the spectrum when it comes to education. Donald Trump won with people who have an associate degree. So the idea that this is somehow, it's just this ecosystem that these uninformed, ignorant Americans actually just fell for, it is so, I mean, it's offensive, but it's really not offensive anymore because these people are so irrelevant, so powerless, and it's making them panic a little bit. I think that's what we're watching right there.
Well, and so much of it, you know, as we talked to American voters leading up to the election, it was about dollars and cents. It was about the price of milk, the price of gas, trying to stretch your dollar at the end of the month to put hot food on the table. I mean, that's the reality that so many are struggling with right now.
It's totally true, and it actually speaks to how informed many Americans are, that they didn't buy into the lies that were being fed to them. And that goes to sort of the general hoaxes that we saw, the Charlottesville, find people on both sides, that's used by, including by Barack Obama, just in the final weeks of the election, that we know is a smear of Donald Trump to say he's racist, but it's actually not true at all. But even beyond that, there was an interesting demographic I saw in the New York Times about the fact that people who are supportive of abortion rights, that's a key part for them, ended up voting for, in the states that had abortion bills on the docket as a policy, they voted for abortion. They were positive in that, and much more high numbers than they did vote for Kamala Harris. And the reason is because there was this talking point, oh, Donald Trump's gonna do this national abortion ban, but he said it's not true. You know, objective fact checkers said it's not true, and people believe that. They said, I'm going to vote for other reasons. I'm going to vote on the economy or immigration because I don't believe the talking point that's being spun by the media, by large portions of the left-wing media, and by the Democratic establishment. People were more informed, and that's why they made the decision they did in this election.
Steve, let's take a look at some of the celebrities who said they just flat out are going to leave. I mean, one of them is Barbara Streisand. This was in 2023. She said, I will move if Trump wins. Cher, also in 2023, said that I'll leave the country if Trump wins an election. And Ellen DeGeneres, as I mentioned just a moment ago, has been disillusioned by the Trump win, according to sources close to her, and is planning on moving to England as a result. I guess the argument could be made, you know, if you're unhappy with the election results, stay and do something about it. They have the means to go elsewhere.
they have decided to go elsewhere, at least for now, until they decide, I really miss that nice California coastline.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.